What is it that makes an actor really good at their craft? Let's explore some of this in Chapter 7, The Art of Acting. Welcome, I'm Professor Arana, and this is Intro to Theater. Famous quote by Shakespeare. A lot of times people have seen this in different areas, and it just basically speaks to the idea that everybody, in a sense, is an actor. They put on a performance, and some people do it as a profession, and other people just act in terms of who they really are, or not showing who they really are. All right, there are some things that an actor needs to do to understand in order to become a better, stronger actor. 3 areas you want to start to train. One area is the body, and that is having an understanding of your physicality, having an understanding of how your body moves, how you can manipulate your body, and by doing plenty of physical exercises, what that can do is allows you to be able to do more things with your body. So a actor who has dance training is more marketable when they go on auditions that might require dancing, or combat training, or any of those trainings that require physical movement. And then the next thing is the voice. So you got your body, and then the what? The voice. An actor needs to understand how to use their voice, because if they don't have voice, you can't speak on stage. And if you can't speak on stage, you can't communicate effectively. So one of the things you start to do or start to learn is how to strengthen your voice. You do things like having breathing techniques. You do things like understanding your pitch. You can learn how to sing. One of the things that's fun to do is tongue twisters for articulation. So an actor might go through exercises that talk about tongue twisting. So one example would be whether the weather is cold or whether the weather is hot. We'll be together whatever the weather, whether you like it or not. And the point is to articulate those T sounds and to make it clear what kind of weather or weather we're talking about. And actor has to have a strong mind. Being able to memorize long monologues and dialogues is difficult. That's not an easy thing to do. So an actor needs to be able to do that. They have to be creative and imaginative, because they're pretending to be somebody else. And your favorite actor does that pretty well. Some of the actors that you see that aren't as good, you tend to see like they're they're trying too hard to be a different character, or they're not portraying a different character very well. All right. Konstantin Stanislavsky, very famous actor, trainer, director. He was the one that basically started the movement towards a more realistic acting technique. That's him right there. Very scary dude. Guy lived in Russia. And a lot of people come from his school of thought. Robert De Niro, Denzel Washington, anybody who who's in the top ranks of acting lends themselves to his style or his techniques of acting training. And it basically means that he started with the idea that a character should be, an actor should embody that character and be as real as possible with it. This is another acting style from Japan, and this is more focused on physical gestures. So the body of the actor is much more emphasized than, let's say, the emotional qualities of an actor or a character. All right, here's some things that you can do for fun. A If you're trying to express an emotion, you can I'm just going to go through some. I'm not going to go through all of them, but an inside out type of expression of emotion is where you are playing a character that is crying or very upset, and what you do is internalize that character's upsetness by thinking about something that has gone on in your life that was upsetting, and then you remember that and bring that back to your remembrance, and perform as if that just happened to you, and use that memory of a traumatic situation or a hurtful situation and put that into the character. One of the things that really helps to the actors when I'm working with them, or whether with directors working with them, is when they start getting their props and costumes, that really helps them to get into the character. Once it's almost kind of like if you've ever done anything for Halloween, you're not a whatever whatever you're dressing up for Halloween. You're not a witch, but when you put on the costume, you start to embody that character a little bit more and start to have more fun with it. Some other things that an actor would want to get to understand in terms of understanding their character. A list of things here. One thing I want to focus on is that magic if. That magic if says that you put yourself into the situation that a character is in, and you imagine what you would do yourself. So you would ask yourself, what if I was in that situation? What would I do? And you answer it, and you it basically starts to open you up to being, not having the character that you're portraying be something that you are not. The characterization that also deals with what the hopes and dreams are of the character, some things that you want to look at, how the character is dealing with that situation or environment that they're in. Very important part right here is the super objective. The super objective is what a character is really going for. What is it that they really want in life? And you have to look big picture. So if if a character, for example, is walking down the street, the idea is not the idea is to figure out what is the big picture of why they would be walking down the street. And it might not necessarily be because they saw somebody on the other side of the street, but it could be, it needs to be something bigger, where it's like a an attraction, dealing with loneliness. They were angry. A character was in love. They were searching for love. They were seeking things that are bigger than themselves, and that is where you want to start thinking about a super objective, not just in terms of what might be the obvious immediate idea of why a character is doing something. another thing to consider in characterization. And some more. Let's see, look at this. So, three unions that an actors can be a part of: Actors Equity Association, or Actors Equity, or Equity. If you're in the business, you tend to shorten it by saying Equity, and then Screen Actors Guild, which is also considered SAG, and then the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. So, the Actors Equity is for theater performers. So if you're on Broadway, you have to be part of that union. If you're a SAG, you are somebody who's working in film. So if you're in a major film role, you have to be part of SAG. And then the AFTRA is for anybody that's doing voiceover work, radio work. That's what that union is for. And there are some actors who are part of all three at the same time. So, one of the tough things that actors have to do that's really hard are what? Auditions. That's where you have to get in front of a group of people, directors, producers, and say a memorized line or a series of lines. And there's a bunch of different types of auditions. One's called an open call or a cattle call. It's called a what? Cattle call. And that is, what can you imagine that would be like? Cattle call is when all the actors that are in a certain vicinity are called to go to an audition, and they're going to see everybody. It's almost like any of those competitive shows like America's Got Talent, where they have everybody and anybody come to an audition. Is the process that an actor goes through once they have been hired, right? So they'll do table work, and that's reading a play with the director. Everybody gets together and reads the parts. Blocking is when the director starts to move the actors around on stage. A general working rehearsal is when you start to go through the entire performance. Or I'm sorry, you start to work on specific areas of the performance. Special rehearsal is when you're dealing with anything that has to do with perhaps choreography or fighting. So you might have a special rehearsal that's just focused on that. When you're off book, now you're saying that all the actors have to have their lines memorized. Your run through is when you go from beginning to the end of your rehearsal of the play. Your tech rehearsals when you start to add the technical aspects, meaning the lights, the sounds, anything that needs to happen on stage in terms of mechanics, and your dress rehearsals when you add the costumes to it, and then you have your preview, and then finally your performance, opening night. So that is it. Hope you found it interesting, and I will talk to you later. Take care and God bless.